welcome to the Power Her Africa series. My name is Nsiki Mkize. I am the founder of Mentor, and I will be your host for this afternoon as we speak to female leaders in cloud technology. I've already been seeing the comments coming through on LinkedIn, so I do have to apologize that we're running a few minutes late. We just had some technical challenges, but Tracy, I've seen your comments and the humor. I love it. Abby as well, thank you so much for being on time and signing up to join our session. And for everyone else who is now connecting and joining us live, please do put in the comment section which city or which country are you joining us from, and are you already a woman in tech? I saw a question come through from Tracy asking, is anybody wanting to move into cloud, right? So if you are already in the industry, please put that in the comments. It's always wonderful to know who's in the room with us. And if you're thinking about shifting into the cloud space, we'd like to know that from you as well. If you're joining us from outside of South Africa, you might not know, but yesterday was the 9th of August, which is the day that we celebrate Women's Day in South Africa. So to all the ladies in South Africa and outside of our country, I want to wish you not only a happy Women's Day, but a happy Women's Month as well. And I'm excited as part of what we do at Mentor. We've been celebrating Women All Month as part of our Mentor Activator Tour. And so it's been really great going around speaking to female entrepreneurs, female leaders in business about the work they do to drive change, create impact. And I see a flood of messages coming through, which is going quicker than my eyes can read. But I've seen Portugal, Kosovo, the UK, Kenya, Nigeria, Switzerland, the Netherlands as well. I see somebody, I think, who said Swaziland. I see Dubai, the UAE, and a country that I can't pronounce. So thank you so much to everybody who has joined us, and Paris as well. I hope everybody who is in the north is having a beautiful Euro summer. We're in the last days of a South African bite of winter. So I'm looking forward to having the sunshine come this side. And somebody who I believe is enjoying sunshine is one of our partners, Nadia Manal, who is from Seed South Capital. I'd like to bring Nadia onto the screen because I think she said she's in Germany. So Nadia's having some sunshine. And also I'd like to bring onto the screen Melissa Slaymarker, who is the head of Women in Tech SA. And she's in Cape Town, so she might have better weather. I'm not sure, but she definitely has a better view than what I do sitting here in Johannesburg. Welcome, ladies. We haven't had a Power Her Africa series in a while, so I want to say hi to the both of you. And just to recalibrate everybody who is coming across this platform for the first time, who's seeing what we do here for the first time, if you could both maybe just speak to the Power Her platform and also tell everyone a little bit around Women in Tech and Seek South Capital. So, Melissa, I'll start with you.
Thank you so much, Nsiki. It's such a great pleasure to be back and to tell you a little bit more about Women in Tech. So obviously, we are here because Women in Tech is on a mission to empower women in STEAM, so science, technology, engineering, arts, and maths. And we really want to give a spotlight and onto role models, so female role models that help to inspire and help to encourage more women to take on a career in technology. What that means, how you overcome challenges, how you gain access. So we really want to get people talking. And it's a pleasure today to be focusing on technologies in the cloud space, because we've got some exciting announcements from Women in Tech as well that we will do later on this in this event today. So we're excited to be here. Thank you.
Nsiki, Mel, it's good to see you both again. I am sitting in Germany. I've escaped the Dubai summer, came to Germany, and this is actually the first sunny day I've had in a very long time, but that's fine. A change of weather is good because I don't get that in Dubai. But it's so good to see you both again. And it's so great to be on the Power Her sessions. I always enjoy them because I learn so much from them. So I'm from, just for the viewers who don't know, I'm from Seed South Capital. It's a South African investment firm. It focuses on commercialization of IP, particularly in institutions and university. And we operate mainly in South Africa. And then I also sit on the board for Women in Tech. So that's how Melissa and I work quite closely together internally. And great to be here. And I'm so looking forward to this conversation about cloud, because it's important, and this is why Mel and I created this series, or we're doing it together. And Siki, you've been an integral part in it as well. Is really to, we find a lot that role models. I mean, we talk a lot about having women in technology, but unless you have role models to follow, you can't aspire to that position, to that career trajectory. So on these Power Her sessions, we try to create that for women in the space. So looking forward to this one particularly because it's not an area of my expertise. So thanks.
Fabulous. Thank you, ladies, so much. And I'll definitely have you both come on at the end again, just to wrap up and also to share with everybody projects that are happening with Seed South as well as at Women in Tech and how people can support. And one of the big things around having this Power Her platform is for us to network and to grow our community of women in tech. And I see people already connecting in the comments, which I absolutely love. So Mareike is working on a book. I'm not sure who you were responding to, but I think you're doing some research, so please do connect with her. I saw Phoebe also made a comment around people wanting to shift into a space. So please do keep connecting. It's wonderful to see the magic happening behind the scenes in the chat. And then to bring that magic onto the screen for our conversation for today, I'd like to introduce our panelists to you. So first off, I'd like to welcome to the screen, and you are most welcome to share a round of applause of emojis in the chat. So first off, I'd like to welcome Dr. Shethal Tom. She is a distinguished professional in the field of information technology with an extensive background in both academia and industry. Her academic journey includes a PhD in information technology from the Central University of Technology in South Africa, as well as a master's degree in computer science and engineering from Amritsar University in India, and a bachelor's degree in computer science and engineering from SOG Institute of Science and Technology in India. And throughout her career, Dr. Tom's primary focus areas have been in teaching and research, have encompassed software development, human computer interaction, computer vision, image processing, mobile computing, cloud computing, and health informatics. So if anything I've mentioned there sounds like where you are wanting your career or your business to go, those are the questions you need to be putting in the comments so we can address those. And in addition, she has a reputation as an adept supervisor and mentor, guiding masters and doctoral students in their research endeavors. So welcome, Dr. Thomas. Lovely to have you with us this afternoon. And then I'd also like to welcome to the screen Daylene Pretorius. She is the head of Platforms Cloud. She is a senior IT executive with internal experience in a rapidly growing cloud computing industry, leading teams in large-scale transformative programs. She joined the bank in 2009 and has held numerous positions and roles over the years. The most recent one being the head of Platforms Cloud for Information Technology in the office of the CTO space. Dillian was also instrumental in creating APSA's first cloud skills guide called APSA's Cloud Incubator. The program has trained APSA employees across the African continent, upskilling over 4,500 employees in 18 months, as well as 400 plus employees upskilled in AWS certifications achieved, as well as 100 plus cloud champions, creating 100 plus cloud champions. So that is fantastic, and welcome to her. And then I also like to welcome to join our panel Hepsim Kungo, who is the CEO and co-founder of One Linkage. She is also the co-founder of Zivoli Growth Partners, an ESG intermediary that has led the birth of One Linkage. One Linkage is a tech company that leverages cloud technology to drive sustainability, inclusion of SMEs in corporate supply chain. And we just had a challenge with Hepsim's video, so that's why you see her picture on the screen, but she is in the room with us. And then our final panelist is Veliso Aboya, who is the senior developer advocate at Amazon Web Services. And I'm not sure if she's here with us yet. So I'll pause her introduction until she's in the room with us and we can get into our conversation. So thank you so much for joining me, ladies. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us. And I know the people who are already in the cloud space, their minds are churning listening to your bios and going, these are all my questions because that's what I've been struggling with. And the rest of us are sitting in the room going, we don't know a lot about that. So what does that even mean for me? Okay, so we're going to get into those juicy questions, unpacking that. But in the spirit of Women's Month, I want to start with who have your role models been? So I'm reading your bios, I looked up your profiles, and I thought to myself, how did these women know to get ahead of the curve when they did, right? It almost feels like at a time when people weren't rushing into technology as we're seeing it being so prevalent now, you were already in the space. So, Dr. Tom, I want to start with you. Who were your role models and how did you end up in the cloud space? And then we'll go to Daleen and then to Hitsy.
So during my academic and professional journey in IT, I've been fortunate enough to have encountered several inspirational figures who have actually played a very big role or significant role in shaping my career. I don't have a specific role model as such, but there has been many male and female professionals who have actually inspired me by the excellence that they have achieved in this field. So I remember while I was young, I was quite good in problem solving and interested in how things work, and that's when I thought that I should go into engineering. So in India, your metric grades do not decide whether you can go into engineering or any stream in the university. You have to take in specific entrance examinations, if it's for medicine, if it's for engineering, like that. So it was a tough 2 years. During your metric classes, you'll have Monday to Friday, you'll have your normal school hours, and then Saturday, Sunday, you go for your entrance training, coaching classes. So you were tested every weekend as well while you go through those training sessions. And it was in one of those training sessions, I remember one of our coaches did mention the story about Grace Hopper. And I do not know whether the young minds hearing in the audience right now, whether they have heard about Grace Hopper, whether they have not heard about Grace Hopper. She's a very inspirational figure. So she wanted to get into the Navy in US, and they kept on rejecting her because she was woman, she was small, and all the things that we know where women face, the challenges that she had. But at last, she got into the Navy, and she was hired as a computer scientist. And she is one of the first developers. She developed the first compiler, and she was part of the Manhattan Project as well. So at that time, in a male-dominant field, if someone could excel, then I felt like it's not impossible. It is something that we could achieve, and it's through passion and dedication we can achieve. So during my studies, as I progressed through my studies and through my academia and my career, there are many more inspirational figures. Dr. Lu, Dr. Fifi Lee, there are a lot. Our president, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. A lot of inspirational figures. So my role models have been like from diverse range of individuals. So everyone who have actually defied expectation, broken the boundaries, and have excelled in their field. So it has actually brought into me that if you have hard work, if you are passionate, and if you have knowledge about the stream, then you can achieve anything. And I think that is what's driving me towards making meaningful contributions in this field of IT.
Good. Daleen here, as you've heard. So I do have two role models currently. I didn't grow up with role models other than my parents, so that was quite a problem, because in those days you actually learned what was very biased towards men, and women was only supposed to do like become a nurse, a teacher, a lawyer, all that normal things. And I believe that you should have the opportunity to choose whatever you want to be. So I've had many role models in my life, but currently I'm looking up to Dawn. She's our Chief Operating Officer of the bank. And Bongi Dube, she was in Absa. She's now moved on to other company. She was from legal. So from Dawn's perspective, what I've learned there is that Dawn actually, Dawn's journey created a roadmap for me, offering insights in leadership, personal growth, resilience, and breaking the barriers of in finance, in banking, which is very much a male-dominated world. So I've learned that from Dawn and from Bongi when we started our cloud journey in 2017 officially. I was asked to please join the cloud team, and I thought, oh my goodness, what am I going to do there? Then my brain said to me, "Nah, principle stays the same. I'm just going to learn a new language called cloud, and to do that was hard work. You have to be there all of the time, upskilling yourself, listening to all sorts of podcasts and reading, and to keep with it because it keeps on changing." But I got to meet Bongi as our legal representative on our contract that we were signing with our primary cloud service provider, public cloud service provider at that time. She knew nothing about cloud, and I didn't know much about legal. And together, we actually created such a bond and collaboration that taught me about her world and vice versa. And still today, we will phone each other to check and see, how do you do this? What do you think about this? We each other's soundboard. So that was for that. So you asking me how I got there, I just touched on it a little bit. So we started out as this very small team. It was myself, Suren Pillay, and Matt Reiper. So were the three people, and we were asked to create this cloud team. And again, principle stays the same. So we started with internal people where we were upskilling and reskilling them, and we also got some partners in, and we invested in some external resources as well. So we created the Cloud Business Office, and today we've established two technical teams, which one of them sits in Prague, and I call them our heavy lifters, our primary cloud engineers. And then we've got our support team, which sits in South Africa, and they are our SysOps teams. We've also created a FinOps team, where I don't have to explain FinOps. I'm sure you all know about it. We also created a regulatory team where we actually need to adhere to South Africa, so Reserve Bank's guidance notes. We've created the Cloud Incubator, like you've heard in the beginning, very passionate about that. And we're busy with migrations, mass migrations, and so forth in the cloud. So I couldn't have done what I'm doing today and have the knowledge I have today if it wasn't for the team that we've created over the last couple of years. They're inspirational to me. I learn every day. I'm not a technical person. I don't have so many degrees as Shadid have, but I learn every day. I make a point to learn. I know enough technical things to say, I need to phone a friend. And I will test the answer with a couple of people to make sure, does this make sense? So I love my journey in cloud. I'm never bored. It's forever changing on a daily basis. And that's why I'm saying it's important to stay up to date, because you will get left behind if you don't do that.
Is it my turn?
We would love to hear from you. My turn. Yes.
Yes. Firstly, I would like to apologize to everyone. Technical glitches on my side. I was unable to get my camera going, but firstly, thank you everyone for the opportunity. But I think the question was around who your role model is and how you got into this space, right? So I actually do not have a female role model as such, or anyone who guided me through the process of getting into cloud. However, I have someone that I truly admired. When I was in high school, I wanted to pursue a career in medicine. So I wanted to become a cardiac surgeon. So one of my guidance counselors gave me a book, and this book, the name was Gifted Hands, and the second book was Think Big. And it was about Dr. Ben Carson before he went into politics in the US. He was the first Black American surgeon who separated the Siamese twins. It was quite inspiring story. So I read that book. And later on, around 1999, I actually found myself in an environment with Dr. Ben Carson at Johns Hopkins. and interacted with him. He was doing rounds at the hospital. What really caught my attention about him was how much he led with humility. And someone who had that wealth of knowledge, still looking for input from everyone around him who did not have as much knowledge as he did. That for me was a truly inspiring, in that, you know, when you grow up as a young person, you are told the person with the information has the authority to all the answers, and they have all the answers. But in his case, he was able to seek input from everyone around, even if he knew the answers. And I thought that, for me, leading with humility really was a very important aspect going forward. Later on, when I went to university, I met a lady who was the secretary to the dean at my university at the time. Very strong, powerful lady who was the only lady at EXCO, I would call it. But the way she carried herself, the way she embraced ideas from people around her, I found that whatever I wanted to do, that's basically what I wanted. But I think what she taught me the most was around paying it forward. So she used to say to us, I mean, we're a bunch of international students. We really did not have family around, and she would, run sessions just to help us adapt. But what she would say is that whatever you do in life, pay it forward. So I think those two people really created an impact in my life. In terms of cloud, it happened to me in 2020. I had no idea what that was. I had a solution for a problem that I had, and boom, there's something called cloud that I didn't even know about then. And then I've built my business around cloud. Since then, I've also brought in a number of team members, from a team of 1 to a team of 16. We're all learning together and delivering for our clients using cloud.
That's fantastic. I like how you said that it just happened to you. And I think sometimes that is the journey, that you're on a path and the universe goes, hey, this is something that you should be looking into. And, if you're in alignment and you're paying attention, then you'll see it. And really, I think across each of your journeys, I'm hearing such different elements come through on how we move along and the different things that we can learn. So Hepsi just speaking to leading with humility, and I think that's such a brilliant thing that you see in leaders. And I think a big concept in the South African concept with having Nelson Mandela is around servant leadership and going, how do we have more leaders that have that spirit of building within them? And I think what I'd like to thread through from each of the points that you mentioned is sort of the space that you're in. And I think people often wonder, is the landscape changing? So are we seeing more women in the space? Are we supporting women adequately to participate in STEAM and to build careers in STEAM? So for each of you, I'd like to ask that question to you, and perhaps, if you could paint a picture for us on how you've seen that landscape change. So for Dr. Tom, from an academic perspective, are you seeing more young people coming in studying? I mean, not just young people, but are you seeing more women taking up qualifications in STEAM and even pursuing those qualifications at a higher level? And for Daylene, from a corporate perspective, in the time that you've been at Absa, have you seen more women come in with the STEAM technical skills and capabilities, and even women putting up their hands to go, hey, I want to be in this space. I want the bank to consider me for those kinds of roles, and the support that's available in that space. And then to you, Hepsi, from an SME perspective, are you seeing more female entrepreneurs take up space in the STEAM industry, building solutions, not necessarily just cloud-based solutions, but overall, are we seeing more women take up that space? So Dr. Tom, let's start with you again.
Okay, thank you. Unfortunately, my thoughts about this. Over the last few years, I've been seeing that we have comparatively less females than males that is joining IT stream or computer science stream. It has been declining over the past few years, especially after COVID. My thoughts about this would be there might be many reasons regarding this. One is probably there is a kind of workplace, a culture that might be there in the campuses that promotes more, male than females. And you tend to see how your senior batches are, where you have more males than females, and it's kind of comes like a trend. But when I started working here in South Africa, the proportion was kind of 50-50 or 60-40, but now I see that's declining. There is a need for more mentorship and more support for female candidates, and to promote more diversity in this area. Apart from that as well, if you look into the female staff as well, so there's been a unconscious bias and a bit of discrimination when it comes to hiring female staff, and also promotion policies as well. So there's a small workplace culture also at certain places that kind of also discourages women to enter into this field. It can be experiences from others that they hear, and also so that can add to that. And it's also found that it's from some of the studies and some of the research that's been conducted in South Africa, it's found that more boys are encouraged into STEM than females. That is, STEM is science, technology, engineering, mathematics. So that is also kind of increasing the gap over there. So there is a gender gap now that is quite evident in our streams. Be it IT, be it computer science, anything that's related to technical streams. And it has been quite evident over the past few years. And I see every year it is kind of, the gap is actually getting bigger and bigger. There's a lot as an academic and as an education institution that you can do to close this gender gap. You can probably, it'll take a few years to pick up, but there's a lot that we can do. Volunteer activities, do research publications, provide them with proper, even re-looking in the curriculum as well to see whether it is actually promoting all genders, or it's not, it's welcoming all the genders into the particular course. So there's a lot of things that could be done. So some of the students could also think of, there's a lack of role models as well in this area, and that might also kind of discourage them into entering into the stream of IT. Yeah, this is my thoughts. These are my thoughts about this.
No, thanks so much for sharing that. And I mean, when you talk about the lack of role models, I saw Alison made a comment when you were talking about the Grace Hopper story and saying that she was going to get the book, and for some industries where we are still building up what the space looks like, and either getting a seat at the table or creating the tables ourselves, is being open to the fact that sometimes the learning of the mentors comes from reading books or looking up people's stories, even if it's people you don't know personally, and being open to this idea, like Daleen mentioned her story, that you're the first one, you don't even know how to do it, but you connect with the people to build those pieces, bring it together, and create a project from the ground up. Daleen, from your perspective, what's the employee landscape looking like, and how are you seeing more corporate support women in STEAM?
Yes, I'm very, very lucky to work for Absa, very privileged, because we don't have that stereotyping that's currently out there, because that's a real fact globally, that stereotyping dictates a suitable job for a man versus a woman, and that creates like a lack of confidence in girls. But at Absa, the sky is your limit. So I'm going to speak directly from an Absa perspective. So you can actually become anything you like in Absa within reason, okay? But the upskilling and training is there for men and women in the bank. So from my space in the cloud, we are struggling to hire ladies. It's so difficult. Firstly, to get them to apply to our vacancies, and then secondly, to get through all the rounds of the interview process. So we've got women in our cloud team, but not enough. So if there's ladies out there, look out on LinkedIn for all our adverts, and please apply, because we hire on your skill set and so on, but also on attitude. So we've got a stepping stone through Absa in the cloud space, in my space specifically, but also in a different business unit. So if you go into my space, the cloud space, we take you through like an incubator in our SysOps teams. That's the foundation where we teach you stuff. And then you can decide from there, do I want to become a cloud architect, work in security, whatever it is that you would like to do. And then also, if I can mention, it's not just about technical people moving into the cloud. I think it's very important to mention that. So my whole team, the Cloud Business Office, all 7 of us, which I've got 1 male and the rest is ladies, all of them came out of a non-technical role. And today, they're technical in a non-technical world, if you get what I mean. So the Cloud Incubator, Monique actually started that, created her own website about it, knowing nothing. So Google is your friend, YouTube, and all of those good things. So for Absa, we equal, we encourage people from all races and gender, but we like to employ more ladies. So yeah, so I don't have a problem, but I do. Absa doesn't have a problem, but I do know the industry has got a problem because of stereotyping.
Absolutely, that is great to hear. Shantia, I've seen you've unmuted yourself. I don't know if you have a comment.
So I see in the comments that talking about the statistics of female and men students in India. So I was talking specifically in South African context about the ratio, female-male ratio. Just wanted to clarify that.
Yes.
Just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that. I did see Rajat's comment, and I did want to put that across to you. So thank you so much for commenting on that. And I also saw Maithili, I hope I'm saying that correctly. And her views is that women leaders in STEM is very difficult because there is a lack of mentorship globally, and also a lack of support from family, and the fact that a glass ceiling does exist. But what I'm seeing from everybody else in the comments who's saying what industry they are in, and the skills that they possess, that there definitely are more women with skills who are wanting to move into the space, and that it feels like a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel. Hipsy, I want to bring you in on this conversation. What is the landscape looking like from an entrepreneurship SME perspective?
I think similar to the experience shared by Sheetal, I think that in the SMME landscape, there are too many competing priorities to a point that you find yourself competing with big organizations who are looking for the very same skill set you're looking for as a startup. So you're already in a position where you are on the a back burner. So what you do in that space, you try and attract entry-level skills that you are going to support and build their skill, and know that you're building a skill for the industry, because after a year or two, they're going to leave for an attractive environment such as Absa. So when I reflect on my journey as a non-tech founder, I think the first thing about myself was that I also had no idea of what this world entailed. So without the background knowledge of the cloud, I had lingering anxiety around having the right set of skills, the right knowledge. I was a bit overwhelmed, and being in an unfamiliar environment, despite my previous experience running a business, I felt that I was starting all over again. And worse, I was competing with your banks when it came to skills, just attracting, skills coming out of university, in this environment, it was very, very difficult to get that type of skill. But I think as a woman, you find that you also have other competing priorities around, having a balanced life, to still be available to your family, to start a business, to build up your skill to a level where you need to be able to compete and find the right clients. So what I find with some of the small businesses that I interact with, because I'm very involved in the SME ecosystem and landscape, you find that just starting a business, even if it's not a technology business, you don't find too many women moving into that space. And it is driven by some personal background and experience, lack of knowledge, lack of information, and just general fear of being in a new space. But the more the information is available, the more they see more role models that actually this can be done. I can also do it. I can start small and then grow and make it bigger. I think most people are starting to open up to the idea. I was fortunate in that I started my journey with joining the AWS partner program, which helped consolidate my skills that I didn't have and the anxiety with that. So learning as I was building my solution, I had the right set of skills to refer to and go to AWS and get the support to build my solution. But I think without that, let me not say I think without that, when I started, I made a lot of mistakes. So I started first with looking for developers outside of the country in East Europe. That didn't work out for me. Then I moved to India. That didn't work out for me. And then I realized, actually, you know what? Let me start to build the skill set here in South Africa. Let me just look at taking people around me, walking with them with the journey and finding the right people who were very keen to be in the impact space. So with that as well, when we recruit, we try and recruit as broad as possible, but you'll find that mostly male would apply. But for now, at least we have about a good balance in the team. But it seems like most women just shy away from this space, and I can understand why.
Yeah, thanks so much, Hepzibah. Such an excellent point on competing priorities and understanding what it actually looks like to support women to participate in STEAM. So it's not just about making the roles available or having development programs. There's an anonymous LinkedIn user who said also pay women in terms of salary worthy of the work. So it pay as well, but it's also looking at if somebody's a single mom, for example, who needs to study and to do the job, how do we facilitate that experience, not just for employees, but for entrepreneurs as well? One of the things that we come across a lot of in our network is having programs that are designed to support entrepreneurs, but that don't consider how a single mom participates and if she has adequate support to take advantage of the opportunities that are available in the ecosystem. So, really think about how we balance competing priorities is quite critical to creating adequate support. I also see a comment from Ola saying that she's open to mentor more females. So please do connect, guys. There are people who are willing to mentor in the comments. I want to shift our conversation into a more technical discussion. So I know there's some tech people who are in the conversation who understand what we're talking about, but there might be some people who have no idea what cloud technology is and the opportunities that are available in that space. So Hepsi, I want to start with you. Being somebody coming from a non-technical background, but having the business expertise. How did you identify that cloud was an opportunity for you? And how do you understand that from the perspective of an entrepreneur? So for somebody who's sitting at home going, I see this tech trend, I want to get in on the action, but I actually don't understand what's going on. And I don't know how to interpret these opportunities into something that I can actually do. How would you explain the languaging around cloud technology and make it make sense for somebody who's completely foreign to the space?
Okay, so I think just a background on how I even got into this space. So I left corporate in 2014 to pursue entrepreneurship. What I did then, I supported blue chip corporates to integrate small businesses into their supply chain. So basically, in South African context, there is a requirement, whether from compliance or from to diversify a supply chain and bring in small businesses. So my role was to help corporates with that. In 2020, just before COVID, one of the blue chip companies went out on an RFP looking to digitalize the interaction between small businesses with their company, whether from providing funding for those small businesses or providing development or just procurement opportunities. So they wanted to digitalize that process. And the reason that they wanted to digitalize it was because they found that they wanted to localize the experience and access more SMMEs. So we responded to that RFP because we had the expertise in the industry of, impact. So we're comfortable enough with what we could deliver. However, we had no technical experience, of course. So that's basically how I got into that space, is we really used our strength, which is we're experts in the impact space. And the question was, how then do we overlay that with technology? And fortunately, unfortunately, COVID happened, and there was a huge demand for that. And we're in the right space at the right time for them to give us the opportunity to build this solution for them. So that's basically how I got into cloud and how I was introduced into it. Just trying to understand it from the developers that I was working with, what cloud really is, except that all I knew is that I wanted a tool. I kept calling it a tool. I need a tool to help me, to report. And I didn't really have much broader appreciation. But what I understand cloud to be is a way of storing and accessing your data over the internet instead of your hard drive and instead of your servers. Of course, then there's public, private. I've gotten to learn a little bit more about cloud. But that's basically how I got into the space. And I find that for women in particular, the easy way to get into the space is to use your existing knowledge in your industry and then look at how technology can enable and fast track that. So that's basically what I believe cloud is really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. And your technology really is an enabler. And I like that you mentioned that a lot of what I see in how people transition into tech and create businesses around that space is to ask yourself, what is my expertise? What is my knowledge? What do I know how to do? And how can technology help me to do that better? And again, Hibs, you spoke so well earlier on about walking the journey with people and understanding that sometimes you might be wanting to do something that maybe you don't have the language for yet, or you haven't really found the people that have the technical know-how, but it's about walking the journey to create impact with people that are invested in it. And Pili Becker says as well that breaking and changing stereotypes in the industry is a challenge that will take time, but is possible, right? So if we continue to go at it, we'll eventually get there. Daylene, from your perspective, I'd like to know, what are some of the cloud applications that you're seeing for corporate? And I think this, when I think about this, what comes to mind is sometimes my dad still insists that I need to go to the bank to do something. And I'll say to him that everything and anything I need from the bank, I can do on the app, and he's very much like, no, but surely you have to go talk to somebody. And that really just speaks to how in such a short amount of time, technology has grown in leaps and bounds to dramatically change the customer use experience, but I'm sure also has dramatically changed the employee experience within corporate, So what are some of the trends that we're seeing around cloud within the corporate space, and how you guys are applying the use of cloud technology?
Right. So there's so many, but I'll mention three. So one is the mobile money app. That's just amazing, especially in the African countries, using it there, because there's a lot of limitations, and so that works for them. Then we've got the digital wallet, and that is actually amazing because all your certifications that you have, your banking, all sorts of things goes into the digital wallet. So if you have to share your qualifications as an example, go to your digital wallet and you can send it to whomever you like. And then another sexy one that I quite enjoy is we've got a robot called Abby. That's in our Mauritius branch. And what Abby does is also the foundation is built on AWS. Abby will go into the queues and then actually ask you, are you here for a query? What's your query? Are you here to get bank statements and so forth? So Abby helps to shorten the queue and your waiting period by communicating with you, and it looks like a real robot. I wish I could give you a picture, but you can go and Google that and see. And I just want to add that we all know cloud actually already without knowing you're using it. And I'll give a couple of examples. It's like Netflix, Airbnb, Uber, all of those things run on the cloud. So we actually do know it. And the best way I normally describe it is like renting a car instead of owning it. So you use it for storage, for photos, for files and so on any other device. And once you know, if you don't use it, you don't pay for it. And instead of having a special device to do your backups or your storage or so forth on it. So it's actually simple. We're making it more complicated than it is, in my opinion.
Yeah, fair point. And I think sometimes it's the overwhelm that people are like, what is this? How do I take advantage of it? But also the amount of information that it's almost like the pace at which this is moving. I've just kind of wrapped my mind around one concept and already the next thing is being rolled out. And I don't really fully understand how to take advantage of that. I see Arna Singh echoing your comments to say that digital or mobile banking is definitely changing the world. It absolutely is, and it's making things a lot more efficient. Dr. Tom, from your perspective, I'd like to know, similar in that, cloud and what are some of the trends that you're seeing, and then perhaps maybe to emphasize on, are we teaching the right stuff? And I think about this from the perspective of the pace that universities move at to approve, well, firstly to design a qualification and then to go through academic board approvals and so forth. And by the time you're ready to teach it, technology is 5 steps ahead, So for people wanting to be in the space, do they need a qualification? Is the university route still the place to go? Or should we be open to learning in different ways? So if you can just, speak to that around cloud technology.
So I see my story is totally different from my other speakers over here. Yeah, it is quite interesting because the first time I heard about the term cloud technology was during my master's many years ago, during my second years of my master's study. That's when cloud technology was in nascent stage. Its full potential was not realized yet. And there was this module where we talked about future of data computation and data management. And that's when I heard about this, or we had to encounter this topic first. And then what drove me interest into this cloud computing was its sheer transformating potential. Like managing resources, we used to manage IT infrastructure like in-house, and now all of a sudden you can, to have a scalable global, mechanism to do all of this. And your business, no matter how small or how big it is, you can use all this computing infrastructure, right? So what piqued my interest was its challenge. It's interoperability, security. There were a lot of questions that came forward along with that. But I kind of experienced cloud technology when I started working in the industry. When I started working close to it, so it grow, evolve, and I could see that now it's becoming a very important, integral part of the digital infrastructure. So I make it a point to reach it out to the students, to tell the students the importance of cloud technology and how it can transform a society and business. Now, something that might benefit the audience that's over here, many of them might be working, many of them might be thinking of moving into cloud. What can I do? What would be the career path that I can choose? What should I learn in order to, what are the courses that's available? So in academic perspectives, I would want to share that information. So cloud technology, it's very vast. So there's many forms, many paths you can take regarding that. So it's constantly evolving. So depending upon your interest, your skill, your passion, you can pursue several paths. One is you can become a cloud architect. So cloud architect oversees a company's cloud computing strategy. So it includes cloud adoption plans or cloud application design, cloud management, monitoring. For that, it's basically you need to have knowledge about cloud architecture. You need to have knowledge about networking, databases, software development, system architecture. So a combination of your formal education plus vendor-specific certifications plus online learning courses. So a bachelor's degree in computer science, IT, would be really beneficial. On the top of that, we have vendor-specific certifications like AWS has AWS Solution Architect certification. Google has Google Professional Cloud Architect certification. Microsoft has Azure Solution Architect Expert certification. And then you have online learning materials in Udemy, Coursera, so that's available. Now, when it comes to becoming a cloud architect, it's not just studying, you need a bit of practical experience as well. So part-time work or internship or a personal project, all of this will really help. Another career path that I could think of is becoming a cloud engineer. So a cloud engineer develops, maintains, supports the company's cloud infrastructure. So again, it's a combination of your formal degree plus vendor-specific certifications. Online resources are available for that as well. So there also you need to have a good knowledge about the concepts that we just discussed before. So again, a formal degree in computer science or IT, information systems, this can help. AWS certification, AWS certified developer certification is there. Azure developer associate certification. Then Google, I think, professional cloud engineer certification. So, and there are also boot camps that's available for, training in cloud engineering. Hyperion Dev, they have certain boot camps for software development, software engineering courses. So that gives a lot of experience to the students as well before they go for the job out there, they go for job hunting out there. You can also become a cloud consultant. A cloud consultant basically helps the business to understand how to integrate cloud services and operations. So basically they provide advice regarding what services you can integrate, how can you integrate these services. But when it comes to cloud consultant, you have to have knowledge in business management together with IT. It's like a mix of business and IT. So again, a degree in business management, IT would be beneficial, as well as, again, you have third-party certifications, vendor-specific certifications like AWS Cloud Practitioner. In Azure, it's Azure Fundamentals. Google, it's Professional Cloud Architect. So you have these certifications available as well. Now, for cloud consultants, you have other specific certifications like CMC certifications that's offered by IMCSA. So that is IT and business consultation certification. So that is another certification that would actually improve their CV, improve their profile, as well as the experience. And then their online resources are available. Like you have online short courses, all of this are available out there. Then person who's interested in cloud but would like to, they're more good at their soft skills and they would want to do sales and support. Then cloud sales and support, that is again another career path that a person can choose. So that involves selling cloud services and supporting clients. So again, it's a mix of IT, a bit of IT knowledge, and soft skills, and so business management. It's a mix of that. So you can have a formal education in any of that. And again, you have vendor specific certifications for that. So AWS has AWS Cloud Practitioner. Google has Associate Cloud Engineer, Azure Fundamentals. All of those certification courses would be beneficial for the candidate. Then Sales Institute of South Africa, they have certifications that would actually add more value, because they have specific sales and customer support specific certifications that's available. So these all would enhance their CV and give them more experience before they start working. And you can also become a cloud security specialist. Their cyber security, you should have good knowledge about cyber security, networking. Then your formal education should be on that. And again, you have vendor specific certifications. AWS provides security, I think, security specialist certificate, I guess. And Azure has security engineer certification. Google has Google Cloud Security Engineer certification. And you have specific certifications like CISSP, CISSP, that provides you, but it's a cyber security certification. And you can also go for local training like Talk IT. They provide training on cloud security. Then you have CompTIA certifications also that's available, that will enhance your CV and give you that experience. So I'm talking from academic perspective. So this is all that you could prepare yourself to enter into the field.
Those are so fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Tom. Yes, Daily.
Yes, so time and money is always an issue when it comes to these studies. So I absolutely support what Dr. Tom is saying here. But if you don't have the privilege to be at university and you need to start somewhere, there's all our cloud providers, Google, the main ones, but I'm sure all of them, but definitely AWS, Google, and Azure. It's got many, many free trainings. So if you go onto their training sites, you will see there's, I know AWS specifically has got over 600 courses that's for free. And the cloud practitioner, I'm not sure about Google and Azure, is actually for free. You just go onto their website. And then time is if you go onto those websites, you will see there's some reading material, there's some short videos and so on. So what I did in the beginning was I don't read anymore. Actually, I listen to everything. That's another, advantage of technology. So I would have it on my phone. And if I stand in a queue waiting for somebody or so, I will listen because most of them are short. It's like 15 minutes. I think that the longest one is like an hour. So I will use their time in my car when we were still driving to the office. Now I'm luckily working from home. I took an hour to get to the office. I took that and listened to audios while I'm going to work because it's their time. And all of that's for free. So that's how I fill the gap with my time, not wanting to pay for it myself, because I don't keep the company responsible for my upskilling and reskilling. I did a lot on my own, even though APSA is not shy to pay for our training. But I think that's important. If there's somebody on the call that feels don't have the time, don't have the money, there's an out for you. That's a suggestion from my side.
Sorry, just wanted
Thank
to
you
answer
so much.
question.
Yes, Dr.
Also okay, I just saw a question asking if you don't have a formal education, like in the technical field, with certifications help? Definitely
Yes.
certifications will help. It's not like it's all a mix. That's what I said is a perfect combination. You wouldn't get that perfect combinations in an ideal world. And the reality is we need people who know how to do it.
Yeah.
And whether degree in paper is good sometimes, but if the person does not know how to really implement this, then that becomes a problem. So certifications definitely help. What I said was an ideal combination of formal degree certifications. The entire recipe. Your dish would be still fine
Yeah.
if some of the recipes are not there. Some of the ingredients are not there.
Absolutely. And I saw somebody had made a comment about how they were a school dropout and they were working as a receptionist. And from doing that, they ended up in the tech space. So, and to echo Yolanda's point, that lateral access is certainly possible. And that's also very necessary in getting women into the space. And those things are possible. There's also another comment from Tracy around for-profit and non-profit spaces. So there's so many ways to get onto the train and there's so many points at which you can get onto the train. And the key takeaway is get onto the train. You don't have to have everything perfect, but start where you are. Look at your skills, look at what you have access to, and begin there. I'd like us to then move into wrapping up our conversation. We've got 2 minutes to win it, but because we started late, I'm hoping our audience will be okay if we go over by 5 minutes. And I just want to wrap up with these 2 questions from each of you. From your perspective, what is the one thing that needs to happen to close the gaps in the ecosystem, specifically as it pertains to making sure that women are able to access opportunities? So whether it's things that government needs to be doing or that corporate needs to do or that we as society need to come together and do, what are those gaps? If you can give us your one take on how do we bridge the gaps in the ecosystem. And then the final question to you is, what is your one power? So I'll give each of you, if you can give me a minute response on both of those things. I know it's a challenge because we have so many things to say, but that would be great. So your one recommendation on what the ecosystem needs to do to close the gap and your one power. Dr. Tom, let's start with you.
Okay. So talking from perspective of an academy perspective, what we could do is become a role model for all the young girls out there, provide the mentorship, like I can see in the chat, there are many candidates that would wish to have a mentor. So the other thing is that because this is a very things are happening, it's very evolving, this particular field. So you have to have this continued learning, lifelong learning, to see how things are changing in this landscape and how it's going to affect us as women, and be constantly updated regarding that, and and then mentor our students out there to go out there. And then apart from that, volunteer, like Women in Tech, like what you're doing. Likewise, there are many organizations that provide a lot of support to for diversity in this field. So volunteer there, use your time and skills as to how you can help out the students out there. And there are a lot of scholarships and grants available for students to pursue, like whatever that I said right now. There are scholarships and grants, a lot of scholarships and grants that's available apart from the NRF scholarship, the international scholarship, the national scholarships, like South Africa wise Angus scholarship, Hope scholarship, Women in IT scholarship. There are a lot of scholarships that's available, just that maybe it's not reaching the students maybe at the right time. So provide this information as much as possible. There are also many non-profit organizations that just provide tuition-free organizations. To name a few, I do know that Girl Code, She Code, Code for CT, that's a organization for young high school girls in Cape Town. So this is all the opportunities that we have, probably that our girls, young girls out there, the young minds out there might not be aware about. So the more we mentor and we spread out this and help them through this process, I know that there's a lot of potential out there, and we need to, we need to work more to close that gender gap. So, and share more stories of success. I guess that's more inspiring.
And your
Then my
one power?
Oh my God. I wish I had a superpower. I think it would be my superpower, I think, would be a combination of my global experiences as well as my interdisciplinary expertise and my commitment towards society. I think it's I like to combine IT and humanity together. So to see that IT should not be just used for solving integrate technical problems, but also address all the social economic challenges and cultural challenges that we have. So,
Absolutely. IT and humanity together. That's so beautiful. Celine, one thing the ecosystem can do better and your power.
Okay. So I'm going to answer it. I will talk fast. In one example is Women in Tech with Absa's Live to Learn. It's our cloud incubator in AWS. Is running a program for female IT or engineering graduates that's unemployed. And the program is going to start the 22nd of August. And what you will get there is a sponsored training, authorized training with instructor-led trainers from AWS. And then mentoring support from AWS and Absa Cloud ambassadors. It would be people that volunteered from Absa's side. And then exam readiness sessions again with Absa and AWS. And then a fully funded exam voucher for your cloud practitioner that you will get in the end, and then connection with different recruiters. So at the end of this, we would like to place everybody with a job. And yeah, so for me, it's continuous learning, to sum that up. And then my superpower, if I can change one person's life by upskilling, reskilling, give a person an opportunity, I will be very happy, because that one person is going to multiply and multiply and multiply. Yeah, so that is what I would love to do.
Fantastic. Let's definitely keep multiplying. And Nikolai is adding in the comments there. We've been talking from a South African perspective, but he's mentioned that if you are in the US, specifically New York, you can get free access through your local library. So if anyone's joining from the US, please do check that out. Hepsi, what's one thing the ecosystem can do better, and what is your power?
I think I'll start with my power. One of the things that I do all the time is that I forgive myself all the time for whatever mistakes that I make, because we tend to not want to move forward because we've made a mistake. So I totally forgive myself all the time. And the other thing is, I always tell my team that, let's go for whatever we want to go for, because the answer is either going to be yes, no, or maybe. Those are the only three options. If it's yes, good. If it's no, maybe you're not the right person. If it's maybe, wow, there's another opportunity for you to actually try again. So we're never scared of putting ourselves out there, because we know that those are only three answers that you can get. And in terms of how we can change the environment, I think that in our context in South Africa, we put a lot of emphasis on university degrees, and we know that access to some people is a problem. The certification process is actually also critical for people who don't have access to education, because there are foundational courses, there are associate courses, professional, up to specialty level. You can really walk the 4 years with practical experience. And I find that we have, in our environment, have a lot of people who don't come from the background who've leveraged the certification and are making something for themselves. So let's not limit ourselves.
Absolutely. And I think with that point on not limiting ourselves, we can wrap up our conversation. And definitely in the spirit of Women's Month, realizing that as women, we are unlimited, we have infinite potential, and let us take advantage of the opportunities that exist. Let's work together, let's strengthen the ecosystem, and let us see more women take up positions in STEM and become leaders in STEM or STEAM. To our panelists, thank you so much, Dr. Tom, Daylene, and Hepsi. It was an absolute pleasure to have you with us this afternoon and just to share your insights. Such great, rich conversation. I know I'm going to rewind this discussion and rewatch it and take notes, because there's lots of good things mentioned in there and lots of programs that you all shared that we can go take advantage of. And the internet is your friend. So go look up those things and enjoy the rabbit hole of opportunities. But thank you so much to you as our speakers. And I'd like to bring back to the stage Melissa and Nadia. Melissa, I see you've been commenting. I'm not sure if everyone has had the opportunity to see your comments, but you mentioned that Women in Tech is giving away bursaries. I think you said for 50 women in Cape Town who are wanting to get AWS certification to the value of $100. I think, if I read that correctly. And then I also know that Women in Tech has a jobs board, so if you can maybe briefly speak to that. And then Nadia as well, from a Seed South Capital perspective, for entrepreneurs who are here that are interested in receiving investment and support, anything that you are working on that we can highlight. Over to you, Melissa.
Hi, thanks. Nadia's unfortunately not on the call anymore, but I will cover it for her as well. So as Daylene very kindly mentioned, we have a great collaboration between organizations. This is where the magic happens, is when companies come together. So AWS, Women in Tech South Africa, and APSA have all put their heads together to create an opportunity celebrating women still for Women's Month. So we have a launch event on the 21st of August, but you unfortunately need to be in Cape Town. It is ideally for women because we're celebrating women part of Women's Month, and we want to help ladies get certified through a program where they'll be on-site training with on-site coaches and mentors. And like we said, we're putting up the usual exam cost, which is $100 per exam. And we will be covering that cost for the students. So they have a fantastic opportunity for free to get certified, to get the best coaches, to get the best network possible. And I'm looking forward to changing some lives, because I think this is really what we're all about, is creating impact and creating life-changing opportunities. Because like Hepsi mentioned, yes, some people don't have access to funding for university or even have funding for certification, so we're trying to remove those barriers and creating these points of access. Unfortunately, like I said, it's an in-person event. So I know some people commented that are not in South Africa that would love to have been part of it. But this is a pilot program, and hopefully we will make it virtual or make it bigger next year. So watch this space. Thank you so much, Natiki, for all your lovely questions and for making PowerHer always a great success.
Thank you so much, Melissa, and to everybody who has joined us this afternoon. Thank you so much for your time. I know we couldn't get to all of the questions, but I am confident that you will all continue the conversation in the chat, and the chat's never closed. So you can always come back and comment on this video. And then from my side at Mentor, I'd like to invite you to join us on the Mentor Activator Tour. So all of August, every Thursday, we are connecting with female entrepreneurs and leaders across the continent. Last week we were in Kenya. Today we're having this wonderful conversation with women in tech in South Africa, and then we are going to Ghana, to Nigeria, and to Zimbabwe as well. So if you're interested in finding out about the entrepreneurial landscape in those regions, please go over to our Instagram page, and you can find more information to join us on that. Enjoy the rest of your Women's Month. Enjoy the rest of the day. It was an absolute pleasure to host you, and we will see you on the next incredible conversation series here at Power Her Africa. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.